Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, Gardening Cold Spring Harbor. Welcome back to my home. Welcome back to Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. Another beautiful, mild fall day here in Long Island, New York. In today's video, I thought we might switch gears just a bit. So in today's video, I wanted to talk to you about the best and the correct way to plant our Amaryllis bulbs in a pot or a container, guys. So whether you just purchased new fresh Amaryllis bulbs this season and you're looking to pot them in a container in your home, maybe you were gifted a Amaryllis bulb set that you are not familiar with planting and you're seeking advice on how to best plant this gift set, the bulb in this gift set. Maybe you guys are transplanting Amaryllis bulbs that you're growing in your home from previous years, guys. In today's video, I'm going to cover step by step the best way to plant Amaryllis bulbs in our home in a pot or a container. I'm going to give you step by step proven tips and advice as to what soil mix to use when planting an Amaryllis bulb. How much light source do our Amaryllis bulbs need in order to grow and bloom? How much water does our Amaryllis bulb need? How often should you water your Amaryllis bulb? At what temperature should you keep your Amaryllis bulb at? As well as how much sunlight our Amaryllis bulb requires in order to grow and bloom. So for those of you looking for that online gardening channel that offers tips, tricks, easy, yet proven gardening advice to take your home gardens to that next level, don't go anywhere, guys. Stick around with me today. Start with going below this video and clicking the subscribe button. For those of you who are enjoying the content of my garden videos and never want to miss another new garden video, click the bell icon as well. YouTube will notify you every time I'll upload a new garden video. Now come with me. Let me teach you the best way to plant our Amaryllis bulbs in a pot or a container. Amaryllis are bold, beautiful, easy to care for houseplants that can illuminate any windowsill during cold winter months. This stunner comes in over 500 varieties, ranging in beautiful, bold colors. I must say that the most popular Amaryllis varieties do happen to come in red and white hues. But regardless of the variety that you choose, this stunner is guaranteed to illuminate your home and stun you as well as your guests during this winter holiday season. The term Amaryllis comes from a Greek word which means to sparkle. The symbol of Amaryllis flower is determination, spirit, and love. Amaryllis grows from an onion looking like bulb, which is sold in almost every single garden center and nursery this time of year. So mid to late fall, you can find Amaryllis bulbs sold absolutely in every single garden center or nursery. So Amaryllis are sold as a loose bulb, and here's an example of one. They are sold as a gift set, pre-boxed, which includes a bulb and a container of some sort. So here's one example of a bulb set. Here I have another example of a bulb set. So when you purchase them as a bulb set, they come inside with, let me see if I can open one. So they come with a bulb, sometimes larger size bulb, sometimes smaller size bulb, a container of some sort, and a potting medium with clear instructions on the back of what to do with this medium and how to pot it. I prefer to buy my Amaryllis bulbs loose. Why? Because then you can control what size Amaryllis bulb to purchase. I highly recommend, if you purchase your Amaryllis as a loose bulb, choose the bulb as large size as you can possibly find, as the size of the bulb directly will relate to how many flower stalks you're going to get, how many blooming flowers you're going to get on each stalk, and how large your blooms will be. The larger the bulb, the more blooms you'll get, and the larger size blooms you will get. So the larger the bulb, the better. The Amaryllis blooming bulb is considered an indoor plant for potting in most regions. However, much of the southern hemisphere, Amaryllis bulb or Amaryllis flower is considered to be a perennial. So you can actually plant it and grow it in your flower garden. Amaryllis is a great early blooming flower that brings a great splash of color to your home during the long, cold winter months. Since Amaryllis blooms in winter, sometimes early spring, most of the time we keep our Amaryllis plants inside our home or in a green room, in a pot or a container. In today's video, you're going to learn about Amaryllis soil requirements. What potting mix should you use to get best growing and blooming results from our Amaryllis bulbs? Also, I will show you step by step how I plant my new Amaryllis bulbs in a pot or a container. So after today's video, you're going to know everything when it comes to planting Amaryllis bulbs in a pot or a container. Believe it or not, Amaryllis bulbs have everything that they need for growth and glorious blooms deep within their core. As I mentioned previously, Amaryllis bulbs do come in over 500 varieties. Here are just some example of the Amaryllis bulbs that I got this season. So this particular one is supposed to bloom in this beautiful orange colored blooms, hence the name. This one is the stunning Amaryllis Fantasy variety. Take a look at these lime colored flowers, and as you could see, it's meant to produce up to 2 stalks with multiple flowers per stalk, and this one is a double dream. What a dream, guys. Take a look at the flowers, the colors, the amount of petals, and you could see the difference between these flowers, the blooms, versus say even this variety. This one's shaped more like a trumpet versus this one, which has multiple double layered petals. So now Amaryllis bulbs do go dormant for 6 to 8 weeks. So what does dormant means? It means they're gonna go for a long sleeping period, basically. And while these bulbs are sleeping, the bulbs are hard at work. They are working to form the buds, the growing buds internally inside the bulb. So after the dormancy phase is over, the 6 to 8 week dormancy period, how do we wake up our gorgeous, stunning Amaryllis bulbs? How do we get them to start growing foliage, the stem, produce the flower bud, and to bloom? Well, the way you can easily wake them up from their dormancy period is by watering them and by exposing them to sunlight. As you can probably tell by now, Amaryllis bulbs are sold as a single bulb. So whether it's a bulb that was sold loose to you, or whether it was a part of a gift set that came prepackaged with the potting medium and a container of some sort, either way, this bulb, which is a decently large size bulb actually, because I hand picked this out myself, you could see where the bottom is, the root system from previous year's growth, and you could see where the top point is, where this pointy tip is, and you could see that this is where the foliage was and the stalks were, and they were just cut after previous year's growth and blooms. So each of these bulbs, so each bulb produces multiple flower stalks, and each flower stalk, again, even the picture over here shows it, that this particular variety has multiple flower stalks with anywhere between 2 to 12 exotic trumpet-like flowers on top of the green shoots, and they also will have the separate spikes composed of leaves or foliage. Now moving on, let's talk about all the key factors that each one of us needs to consider when planting our Amaryllis bulbs in a pot or a container. There are several very important components that must be taken into consideration to ensure the best growing environment for our Amaryllis bulbs. So what are those important components to consider? So the first very important component to consider is the soil composition. So you must make sure that the soil in which you will be planting your Amaryllis bulb will be well draining and high in well decomposed compost. Ideal pH level of the soil should be between 6 and 6.8. I always plant and grow my Amaryllis bulbs in a Spoma organic potting mix. For those of you who don't have access to this potting mix, you can choose any other potting mix. Just to make sure that it's not only well draining, it's also full of minerals, nutrients, as well as compost. You could see that this particular soil mix, potting mix, is all natural potting mix with earthworm castings, mycotone, alfalfa meal, kelp meal, and even feather meal. I turned the potting mix bag around just to show you guys quickly what this potting mix is composed of, what the ingredients are. Take a look, guys. This product contains 60 to 70% processed forest products, sphagnum peat moss, perlite, which by the way is excellent with water drainage, humus, limestone to adjust pH. Remember what I just said about the perfect pH level when it comes to Amaryllis bulbs. Remember what I said about 6 to 6.8 pH? Well, guess what? This potting mix has limestone to help adjust the pH level, earthworm castings, alfalfa meal, kelp meal, feather meal, and yucca extract, and then it gives you a total breakdown of each of these components. What a great organic potting mix. Amaryllis bulbs do grow best when they're slightly crowded in the pot or the container in which you planted. So you don't need too much potting mix when potting your Amaryllis bulbs. In fact, your pot should only leave about 2 inches or 5 centimeters between its sides and the edge of the bulb. So no more than 2 inches of spacing. Also, our Amaryllis do not like to sit in damp soil. In fact, if you keep the soil too damp, the bulb will start to rot. So if you pot or containers too large, and you will end up adding too much material, too much potting mix around the bulb to fill in the gap. By doing that, you can make your amaryllis bulb to become waterlogged, hence to rot. So if you see that the spacing between the bulb and the edge of the container is more than 2 inches, then that means that the container that you chose is way too large, and I highly recommend switching to a smaller, tighter sized container. So the next very important component to consider when planting an amaryllis bulb is the light source, the amount of direct sunlight that you will be giving to your amaryllis bulb on a daily basis. So amaryllis bulbs grow and do best when they are exposed to at least 4 hours of direct sunlight per day. So remember that number, at least 4 hours of direct sunlight per day. So the next very important factor to consider, component to consider when planting and growing an amaryllis bulb is the room temperature in which you will be growing your amaryllis bulb. So now, unless you're trying to put your amaryllis bulb through a dormancy phase, the room temperature should never go below 60 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 60. If and when you're trying to put your amaryllis bulb through a dormancy period, then that's a different story. Only then you need to move your amaryllis bulbs to a different location, to a cooler location, where the air temperature must remain anywhere between 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So cooler than where you would normally keep your amaryllis bulb on a daily basis. For those of you, my fellow viewers, who have never tried to put your amaryllis bulb through a dormancy phase, maybe you always thought that amaryllis was a one-time blooming flower and would tend to discard of the bulbs after the flowers were spent. No, guys. If you put your amaryllis bulb through a dormancy phase every single fall, it will come back and bloom for you winter season. For those of you who are not familiar with that process of how to put your amaryllis bulb through a dormancy phase for 6 to 8 weeks, I have a separate video on my gardening channel, Gardening Cold Spring Harbor, where I give you step by step, easy yet proven instructions on how you can place your amaryllis bulb safely through a dormancy phase, then pull it out of a dormancy phase and have it rebloom for you come the month of December. So if you're interested, check out that video as well. So what's the next important component to consider when ensuring the best growing environment for our amaryllis bulb? And that very important component to consider is the care of our amaryllis bulb. Not just during the planting phase, not just during the blooming phase, but throughout the entire year. So remember to always make sure that your amaryllis bulb will get at least 4 hours of direct sunlight every single day. Make sure that the room in which you keep your potted amaryllis bulb will have at least the temperature of 60 degrees or above, preferably 70 degrees or above, actually. Also, make sure that you water your amaryllis bulb thoroughly at the time of planting. Why? Because that watering will help wake up the bulb from the dormancy period. However, throughout the year, you should only water your potted amaryllis bulb roughly once a week. I always check the moisture level in the soil prior to watering it. You do not want to overwater, cause a waterlog, hence cause your bulb to start rotting. So once a week is the key rule when it comes to watering. unless the temperature in the room is very warm or hot and you feel that your soil is drying out quicker than that. So do a finger test. Stick your finger, your index finger, about 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch deep and feel for moisture in that soil. Once you pull out your finger, if you see any soil residue on your finger, that means that there's still moisture inside that soil and there's no need to water. So let's start planting our first Amaryllis bulb, the double dream variety. So when it comes to container, choosing a container, you must make sure that the container has at least 1 drainage hole on the bottom. The more drainage holes, the better. Also, when choosing a container, always place your bulb inside container first to again make sure that there is no more than 2 inches of spacing between the edge of the bulb and the edge of the container. Now, if you feel that even with that 1 drainage hole on the bottom, your container will not have that much good drainage, you can also add some landscape gravel to the bottom of your container, or pebbles. Pebbles or landscaping gravel will help ensure better drainage inside your container as well. So since this container has only 1 drainage hole and I want to maximize the growing success of my Amaryllis bulb, I will place a bit of pebbles or landscaping gravel on the bottom of my container. Not much, guys, just a thin little layer like so. That should be plenty, followed by a bit of my Spom Organic potting mix. You could see how nice and airy this potting mix is. It's absolutely lightweight. I will push it down a bit. Now, guys, when you're planting your Amaryllis bulb, once you are done backfilling the bulb, make sure that the 3rd top of your bulb will remain exposed, meaning we never ever cover up the entire bulb with potting mix. Otherwise, your Amaryllis bulb will not grow and will not bloom for you. Always leave 3rd top of the bulb completely uncovered, completely exposed. Another very interesting fact about Amaryllis bulbs is that if you don't have a potting mix, a well-draining potting mix, you can use absolutely nothing other than peat moss as the soil medium for Amaryllis bulbs. However, if you do use peat moss as your planting medium, soil medium, versus a well-draining potting mix, you must keep in mind that peat moss is quite hard to rehydrate evenly after it dries out. So you have to keep an eye on the moisture level in your peat moss. Now that I've added my Spom Organic potting mix on top of my landscaping gravel, I will try to place the bulb back in the center to see how high this bulb is sitting versus the top level of my container. Again, remember, you want the 3rd of the bulb to be completely exposed, not covered by absolutely anything. So this looks like it's actually the perfect positioning. So now what you need to do is just to continue to fill up the potting mix around our bulb. Like so. Another great thing about a mild fall day is you can do this job outside in your home garden just to keep, all the soil mess from entering, your home. Less cleanup, guys, when we get to do gardening tasks outside versus inside of our home, especially when it comes to potting mix or soil of any sort. Here you go, guys. I am done backfilling the container around my bulb. Again, try to make sure that the bulb is positioned nice and in the center of our container. I'm going to use my finger to gently press down the potting mix. Now that you gently press down your potting mix, What I did was I gently reattached the tag, the label, to this top neck portion of my bulb. I'm gonna keep it here for a little bit, just until, you know, I see the flower stalks form, so I remember which bulb is which, because as I'll be watering, I won't be wetting this neck area anyways. I will be pouring the water on the soil level, so it's always good to keep the tag to make sure you know which is which. Once you're done potting your Amaryllis bulb, remember the bulb is still sleeping. It's still in its dormancy phase. So what were the 2 key rules that we spoke about early in this video when it comes to waking up our Amaryllis bulb from its sleeping or dormancy phase? Rule number 1 was what? To expose it to sunlight, which I'm already doing. I have been doing it while I've been making this video for you guys. And what was rule number 2? And this rule we must not skip, as it's very important when it comes to waking our Amaryllis bulb from dormancy. And that was to water our Amaryllis bulb like so, thoroughly, at the time of planting. Very, very important. The watering and the sunlight, a mixture of both, is exactly what's going to wake up our Amaryllis bulb from dormancy and push it to start growing and blooming for us once again. 1 done. 2 more stunning Amaryllis bulbs to go. So I'm going to do exactly the same with the other 2 bulb varieties as well. I'm going to fill my container with a bit of gravel or pebbles, landscaping pebbles, followed by my Rebloom organic potting mix, followed by placing the bulb in and backfilling the area between the bulb and the container wall. Here you go, guys. I'm going to do exactly the same thing as I did with the previous bulbs. I'm adding some landscaping gravel to the bottom of my container, followed by my Rebloom organic potting mix, like so. I like to always press it down a bit to get rid of the air pockets. Next, I always periodically reposition the bulb to make sure that I have the positioning and the distance correct. As again, 1/3 of the bulb must be left exposed. Here you could see exactly where the top of the container is versus the neck of the bulb. You could see how much distance I left. And now I'm just going to backfill around this bulb as well. Always fixing the bulb to make sure that it stays in the center. Perfect. Here you go, guys. The finished product looks nice and snug to me. Push down the soil a bit, the potting mix, get rid of the air pockets. Going to do exactly the same. I'm going to water our bulb at the time of planting. So because the soil, the potting mix is so dry right now, but yet it's so airy and fluffy, it might take a few minutes for the water to get absorbed. Just be a little patient, guys. It's going to happen. And make sure you water around the entire bulb. As I'm planting my 3rd Amaryllis bulb variety, I just wanted to mention that there are actually 2 best ways to plant our Amaryllis bulbs. So the first preferred way is the traditional way, which is exactly what I'm showing you in this video. It's in a pot or a container with a soil mix of some sort. Now, the second way you can plant and grow Amaryllis bulbs is actually in a water, alone, housed in a glass bowl or a glass container. So for those of you looking for a more modern look, or you want to experiment and try something new, you can also try growing, actually I might say, because that's not necessarily planting, but growing your Amaryllis bulb in a glass container filled with water. Also, there are Amaryllis bulbs sold now that come pre-waxed. So the bulb itself is dipped into multiple layers of wax. Then, if your bulb is pre-waxed, you do not need a potting mix nor a water medium. The bulb can stand alone and grow and bloom in that wax material in which it was coated at a factory or in a garden center. I finally have all 3 of my Amaryllis bulbs potted up. I watered each one thoroughly. Now I'm going to bring them inside, indoors, and place them in my well-lit and warm home office room. I showed you guys the room in which I keep and grow my Amaryllis throughout the year in my previous video, where I showed you guys how I put my Amaryllis bulbs through dormancy phase. So now, guys, for those of you who are living in warm southern hemisphere, you guys are lucky enough that you're able to grow your Amaryllis directly in the ground in your flower home garden. So the ideal time to plant your Amaryllis bulbs into the ground, if you're living in southern hemisphere areas, is in the month of September. September is the ideal month to pop your Amaryllis bulbs directly into the soil. Just remember to leave at least 12 inches of spacing between each of the bulbs to ensure that they have enough room to grow. Here you go, guys. I have brought my 3 potted Amaryllis bulbs inside into my home office. And by the way, there is the 3rd one right over here. So this room is exactly where I keep each and every one of my Amaryllis bulbs throughout the entire year, whether they're in bloom or not. They're on top of this fireplace and they're absolutely loving this environment. They get plenty of sunlight, plenty of warm air temperature, as well as they do not dry out too quickly, the soil. So apparently they're loving exactly where they are. So I added 3 more. So now the next question may arise as to when can you expect to see blooms on your freshly potted Amaryllis bulbs? The answer to that question is 6 to 8 weeks, and the time frame will depend on the Amaryllis variety as well as the amount of sunlight your Amaryllis plant will be getting in that location. Also, the room temperature, the air temperature, and the duration of dormancy phase, meaning how long have you kept your Amaryllis bulbs in dormancy phase prior to watering them and placing them back inside your home. So the longer dormancy phase, the better. This is it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for joining me here on this mild yet gorgeous fall day in Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. In today's video, I shared with you all the useful, easy, yet proven gardening tips and tricks when it comes to repotting or planting Amaryllis bulbs. Whether you're pulling them out of dormancy, whether you purchase new bulbs from a garden center or a nursery, maybe somebody gifted you a gorgeous new Amaryllis gift set. All the tips and tricks and advice that I shared with you in today's video was super easy, yet it's proven to guarantee maximal growing and blooming success when it comes to Amaryllis flower. I'm sure that if you follow all of the tips and tricks that I shared with you today, you're going to enjoy that stunning, beautiful pop of color in your home come this winter season. For those of you who enjoyed the content of today's video, if you found today's video to be useful, helpful, informative in any way, show me that support by clicking thumbs up below. Leave your comments in the comments section as well. Share some pictures with me. Let me know, do you grow Amaryllis plants in your home? Do you place your Amaryllis bulbs through a dormancy phase? If so, how do you do it? When do you start placing them through a dormancy phase? I would love to hear the end results. Share with me, guys, the news. Show me the beautiful pictures. How will they look like come the month of December? For those of you who haven't subscribed to my gardening channel yet, Gardening Cold Spring Harbor, what are you waiting for, guys? Do so right now, today. Super easy for you, yet so pleasing, rewarding to me, knowing that you guys enjoy watching my video, that you find the content of my videos to be useful, helpful, informative in your own home gardening. Be healthy, happy, stay warm, guys, and be well, each and every single one of you. And happy gardening, guys, and I'll see you again in my new upcoming gardening videos. Bye, guys.